Hi, it's Rich Tarani. Thanks for watching Editor's Day Santa Clara 2015. Scott Coleman is with us with Genesys. Scott, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Rich.
So I figure I start at the top. I mean, I'm just going to go back. I actually came out to this area, San Bruno, which is maybe 10 minutes away, 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away. When your headquarters was there, this is like 1995.
Okay.
So you guys have so much happening.
Right.
So much has happened in the last, even the last 2-3 years. And I figure we'll talk a little bit about what's new and exciting from your perspective.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to interrupt you.
No,
and I'm sorry. Back then, it was CT and CTI integration. That's what you guys were known back then as middleware. You kind of were the glue that made contact centers work with multiple vendors, and you brought the computer and the telephony interfaces together. So, sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. And in fact, really, I think the heart of that capability, and even today, is really the openness of an environment. Since the contact center is only a piece of the ecosystem, right? It's integrating with a lot of different things. And so we've really evolved over the last several years. Voice was really still the predominant area there for much of that time period. And what's really changed since then, as we all know as consumers, is the explosion of channels, right? Every possible way to be able to interact with a company as a consumer. And so that's really been part of the journey along the way, is really building out those capabilities, chat and email, social, and lots of different ways to communicate. But how do you really bring that all together and understand who the customer is? So, as the companies evolved from CTI and screen pop along the way to really today, and moving into really more customer journeys. That's really been the focus for us as a company, as we've been able to help our customers realize that.
So that's really exciting. So let's talk about that. So how does your company help with the customer journey and maybe help your customers better monetize their customers' journey?
Yeah, it's what we're really calling it is really more about how you enable an omni-channel engagement center. Omni-channel has been the big buzzword as we move from multi-channel to really how do I look at providing a consistent experience across those all those channels, and how do I carry forward the context from one to another, which is highly confusing and frustrating for customers when they have to move from one to another. And so really we've looked at building out that contact center technology, being able to make that possible, being able to really act as what we would call the system of engagement. So we're looking at how you engage with that customer, have that insight, be able to look at across the customer journey, and then work with other parts of that environment, the systems of record, the CRMs of the world, to be able to really take that insight and present along the way. I think a key part of that is really I'll call it the knowledge worker or the agent, what role they play when you move from, let's say, self to assisted service. How do you give them the insight that they need to know who that customer is, what's happened in the past, and how do we make sure that person the customer is getting to is the right one to really solve that problem? Yeah.
It's really so important nowadays with so many channels.
Absolutely. I mean, it was hard enough before when it was one channel, but now when you explode that out to a myriad of channels and customers typically going between multiple channels during the course of their journey, a purchase journey or a service journey along the way, that each of those presents an opportunity to create a great brand or to create a high degree of frustration for that customer. And so that's a really important element there to take into consideration. And the role of the employee, the agent, is more critical than ever. I mean, contact centers haven't gone away, they've just changed dramatically.
So if you had to tell your prospect out there on video, they're trying to figure out why they should work with Genesys instead of a competitive solution, what's the differentiator that you bring to the table that makes your customers choose you?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because there's a lot of options out there. I think the biggest one for us, first of all, is this is what we do. I mean, we're focused on it. We're a customer experience provider. We provide contact center solutions, and it's in the heart of everything we do. And as a result, having that experience, doing that with over 4,700 customers around the globe in 120 countries, we've been there, we've done that. We've experienced it. We're seeing where things are going, what resonates with companies along the way. I think the other one is the ability to provide choice for a customer, to be whether that be premise-based or cloud, right? We're not going to prescribe and say you must do it one way. What's the right thing for your business? And that may deal with complexity of your environment. It may deal with regulatory issues or just personal preference. So it's really about taking those learnings over the last 25 plus years into practice and be able to help guide the customer with recommendations along the way.
Now, it's worth mentioning that your organization is quite large now. About how many people is it?
About 3,400 people around the globe.
But it was even larger. So you're very focused, but you were once even part of the Alcatel-Lucent
Yes.
organization, which was really, really large. So you had
Right.
that. You kind of have that experience of being part of a mega corporation, and now you're still a large corporation, big enough to handle
Right.
huge customers, but small enough to be focused. Right? Is that the
Right.
point?
I think that's the key. You know, when we were spun off from Alcatel-Lucent a little over 3 years ago, it was really about giving the organization the ability to then really focus and grow, be able to move into things like the cloud, be able to enrich our capabilities in workforce optimization, analytics, and along the way. So, you know, we had some great learnings over those years. Now we've been able to really focus and have investors to grow that business and to be able to really round that out along the way.
Fantastic. Is there anything else we should know about what's happening at Genesys?
I think it's really it's an exciting time since we're making this transition really to this idea of, you know, an omni-channel engagement environment, to be able to really, we're seeing this in practice. I think that, we're excited about it. We have some great customers that are making that move, and we'll see more in the coming days.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thanks for being here. This
Great.
is great.
Thank you. Thanks, Rich.